Here we go. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us for our third online travel education night. Today, we are going to go over Alaska. Decided to do it now instead of a couple weeks from now, just so that we're not all depressed. Um, so today we're going to go over traveling to Alaska, why choose Alaska as a destination, when's a good time to see Alaska, how to see Alaska, the types of cruises that you can do, and land tours versus cruise tours. Why Alaska? Alaska is huge. About 2 times the size of Texas. You can see that Alaska goes over the whole lower 48 states, covering from California all the way to Florida and Georgia. There's a lot of ground to cover there, so you can pretty much find something that you're going to like to do up in Alaska and have lots of time to do it. The things that you can see in Alaska are not things that you're going to see every day elsewhere. I'm sure down in Florida you're not going to see the moose and the snow-capped mountains at any time. So lots of different things that you can see there in nature and in wildlife. And the tallest mountain in North America, the third most prominent in the world, is located in Alaska. Of course, I'm talking about Denali. These are not pictures I took, but I found them pretty inspiring, so I decided to share them with you. Also, you've got the Northern Lights, and this is one of our most liked or shared picture on Pinterest, and I just love that picture. These are a couple that I took on our last trip in Alaska, in Ketchikan and in Icy Strait Point, and then in Skagway and Juneau. And when to go to Alaska is really going to depend on what you want to see and do there. If you want to go on a cruise, you're obviously not going to go in December. Cruising season is from late April until into September. If you want to see the Northern Lights, though, you are going to be going in the winter, or at least during Northern Lights season, which runs from August 21st until April 21st. Again, you're going to want to make sure that the moon is in the right phase when you're going there. If you've got a full moon, you're not going to see them. While the Northern Lights happen year-round, you can't see them if there's too much light. And in places in Alaska on June 21st, there's 24 hours of sunlight. If you want to do fishing, again, it's going to depend what you want to fish for. Different kinds of salmon run at different times a year, but in general, the best fishing is going to be between April and September. And whale watching, again, depends on which types of whales you want to see. The humpbacks are there pretty much most of the summer, but you'll primarily see them June to July. Beluga whales are there all season long, but they're mostly around Anchorage and in the waters around there. Gray whales early in the season, blue whales in the middle of the season, orcas early in the season, and minkies in the late part of the season. So there's lots of different whales to see up there, and it just depends, you know, if you're lucky enough to be able to see one when you're there. Weather and daylight varies depending upon where in Alaska you are, just like it does in the continental United States. This is way up in north of Fairbanks, and you can see in June, they've got June and July, they've got 20 hours of daylight, 24 hours of daylight, and how many rainy days in the summer months they have. So August and September throughout Alaska tend to be more rainy than other times during the summer. And this is the Southwest, which typically that's not where most of the travelers are going to, but you certainly can visit over there. Um, South Central, this is going to be ranging from Fairbanks down to Anchorage. Anchorage on June 21st is 17 or 19 hours of daylight. Denali has 21 hours and Fairbanks that day is 22 hours. And then going down into the Southeast Inside Passage, this is where all of the cruises are going. And around June 21st, it's 18 hours of sunlight then. And as you can see with the temperatures, it's, you know, you're still not looking at it being a little bit cooler, and these are averages. 60 in June for a high average, 64 in July. It's not uncommon to see temperatures warmer than that on the cruises. I know the last time we were on board, Mark was in shorts at least one day. There were days when we should have been in shorts that we weren't. So, you know, it definitely varies. How to see Alaska. Cruising, of course, is a popular way to see. Land tours, and then, of course, combining the two. When cruising to Alaska, there's a couple types of cruises to do. You can do a round trip, and this would be either from Seattle or Vancouver, or one-way transit from either Vancouver or up in Alaska in either Seward or Whittier. The Princess Cruises, Helen America goes out of Whittier, and Royal Caribbean and Celebrity go out of Seward. Cruising to Alaska is definitely a way that you can get a multi-generational trip. You know, last time we had 3 generations just in our group, and it's a nice way to pick up things for everybody to do. You can do it on a very small ship or up to a large ship that holds around 4,000 to 5,000 passengers. The larger ships definitely don't go doing the one-way trips because they're just too big to get into Seward and Whittier. So you're going to be on a smaller ship, but by smaller ship, I'm still talking about 24 to 2,700 passengers. There are some small ships that hold well under 1,000 passengers that go up in Alaska, and those are going to take you into much smaller ports of call. So you're not going to have as many people there when you're visiting. When looking at round trip or one-way, there's some things to consider. If you have extra time, we would consider doing a one-way, but if not, there's really no reason to do a one-way trip. If you're just coming in for the cruise and you're going to fly home, I would recommend just doing the round trip. Your airfare is going to be a lot more expensive if you are doing the one-way. So there's not really a good reason to do that if you don't have at least a day or two to spend up in Alaska. And that's the overall cost is a little bit higher if you're going to do a one-way. Seattle versus Vancouver, a lot of people ask me which is the better one to do a round trip from. There's pros and cons to both. Going out of Vancouver, I think you get the best cruise experience because you have less distance to travel, and you're starting in a foreign port. So the U.S. laws that require a cruise ship to stop in a foreign port, your embarkation and disembarkation are that foreign port. So it's illegal sailing. When you're going from Seattle, you do have to stop somewhere in Canada. So they usually pick up Victoria, which is just out from Vancouver. But because of that required stop, either they'll miss another stop on the cruise or they'll cut back the length of the stop so that they can fit it in. It tends to be a little bit more rough too between Seattle and Victoria because of the distance that they're trying to cover in that overnight. If kids are looking for onboard activities, definitely I would recommend the round trip. The ships that are going out there right now that have a lot to offer for teenagers and younger children. Royal Caribbean has Quantum of the Seas and Ovation of the Seas. Norwegian has the Joy and the Bliss. All four of those ships have a lot to offer for everybody, but particularly for the kids. The drawback for the Norwegian ships is they do not have an indoor pool at all. The Quantum and Ovation do have an indoor pool as well as an outdoor pool. They've also got the North Star and the skydiving simulator and the bumper cars and the Seaplex, while the Norwegian ships have the racetrack on top and the laser tag and the escape rooms and that sort of thing. Celebrity also has some good ships doing the round trip. They've got the Solstice and the Eclipse, which have the Lawn Club on top. They do not have an indoor pool for the kids there. I believe that the indoor pool is just for adults. So they might open that up for kids on the Alaska sailing. So I would look at one of these two for teenagers and kids. If you have time for a land tour, even just a couple of days, I highly recommend it. It gives you a chance to see a lot more of Alaska. It will also give you a chance to get to Denali, which is definitely a highlight. You do have the option to go northbound or southbound. And a big part of the reason that people want to visit Alaska are the glaciers. And almost every sailing, in fact, I can't think of any sailing that doesn't offer a visit to a glacier. It's just a matter of which glacier and what type of glacier it is. For instance, Disney goes to, or at least they used to go to Tracy Arm and the Sawyer Glacier. This is going up a fjord, and then the glacier is at the end of the fjord. The ship goes all the way up to the glacier, does a spin around, and then comes back out. Royal Caribbean goes to Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier, which is basically it's the next fjord over. So they're both a very similar experience and a similar type glacier. Then there's Glacier Bay, which a lot of people say Glacier Bay, you have to go and see it. I haven't been to it, but the glaciers I've seen have been awesome too. So I don't think it's a make or break for your vacation, because I've also heard of sailings not making it into Glacier Bay, and you wouldn't want to make that a determining factor of whether or not you have a great cruise, as if you get into Glacier Bay and then not get in. Hubbard Glacier is the other glacier that I've been to, and what's different about Hubbard Glacier, it's in a big bay, so it's quite expansive. And I just heard this today. Hubbard Glacier is 40 stories high and 6 miles wide. So if you can imagine how big that is, it's just an enormous glacier. I know last time we were there, I don't feel like we got the full effect of how big this glacier is, because it was a foggy day when we got in there, and so we were going through the fog, and then all of a sudden there was the glacier. I'm hoping that next time we go, we will get to see it kind of like it is right now in this picture. Land tours will, like I said, will get you to Denali. It will allow you to do some more train travel and get you closer to nature and the wildlife and the history of Alaska. There's a lot of different tribes in Alaska and a lot of different cultures that you're going to run into. The people are really friendly up there, and there's a lot to learn when you're up there on a land tour. The next few pictures are ones that I took on our last trip. This was Denali in the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, as we were getting ready to make our all day long trek out to the mountain. Our first spotting of a bear, see way over there, the little tiny guy. We saw a lot of wildlife, including moose. And there was our first real sighting of the mountain. What was amazing about the day we were there, only about 10% of the people who go into Denali are able to see the mountain without having cloud cover. So we felt very lucky that we were able to see it that day. And we saw it from several angles. This is the lake that's near Kantishna at the end of the road. And this was not using any kind of zoom on my lens. He was right next to our bus, and he walked around us and checked us out, and the bus driver was saying, keep your cameras in the bus, otherwise he might come after us. Just keep calm and he'll stay calm. And then we were able to take the train up to Fairbanks, and this was going around a bend. We could see the front of the train, and this was off the back of the train. We were in the back car. One of the things we really like to do in Alaska is to do the Wilderness Express or the McKinley Express. Both of them are cars that are owned by the cruise line, and they do sell space to everyday travelers. You don't have to be on a cruise tour in order to get on these train cars, but it's kind of a nice balance between first class and your regular adventure class. Your meals are not included, but they do have a dining area that you can go and have a really nice meal there. They have a bartender in the car with you. You are in a domed car, so everybody has a dome seat. So it's kind of a nice combination where you get the good views. You don't get all the extras, but it really wasn't that much more expensive to do that over the adventure class. Combining land and sea is a great way to see a little bit of everything. Most of the inside passage where the cruises go is only accessible by boat or plane. So if you decide you want to do a land tour only, you're going to miss out on all those things. So that's why I like to do both when I'm going up there. You can see all the marine life, plus you can see all the inland stuff as well. I do recommend land first and then cruise. And the reason that I do this is you're usually more active on the land portion. And the other thing is you get up there and you're traveling in the summer. Let's say you're going in June. You're going to have almost 24 hours of sunlight. And as you go through the trip, the days are going to be getting a little bit shorter, and you get on the cruise and then you can relax. So it kind of eases you back into reality when you get to Vancouver and then fly home, rather than when you're going the other way, which is what we did last time. We were leaving at midnight to fly home, and it was still light out. And trying to adjust our bodies to the light and what time it was. I remember the day we went into Denali down to Kantishna, we got back, had dinner, came out, and everybody was like, yeah, I guess it's time we should go to bed. We looked at our watches. It was 11:30 at night and it was still light out, and it did not feel like it. So it kind of was nice to have that. It would have been nicer at the beginning. But the only reason that I can think of to do the cruise first and then the land is the cruise arrives into Alaska and Seward or Whittier early in the morning. So you've got the whole day ahead of you, instead of when you're flying there, you usually arrive later in the day. So you've kind of lost that whole day because of travel. But other than that, I would definitely prefer the land first. And as long as we're talking about doing both, I couldn't go by without mentioning our group cruise next year. It was supposed to be this year, but now we are cruising on August 27th of next year on the Celebrity Millennium. Our cruise tour is going to start in Fairbanks on August 21st, 2021. And hopefully soon we'll start to have more information about the cruise tour. But basically what I am looking at is 1 night in Fairbanks, 3 nights in Denali, a night in Talkeetna, and a night in Seward before we get on the cruise. It's a little different than what we were planning on doing this year, but I think it gives people an opportunity to see some more fjords, in addition to what we were already planning on doing. We're hoping to add a pre-cruise tour doing the Kenai Fjords, which will be on a smaller boat where we'll go in and get a little bit closer to the glaciers and see a little bit more wildlife as well. And here's some pictures of our last group cruise. And you can see this is on the Wilderness Express Dome Railway. Nice, comfortable chairs, all the domed car all around us. It was really a nice experience. So we definitely want to look at doing that again. And of course, we have to have a little booking special for participating in the Toad Learning Camp. And so anyone who books an Alaska trip, departing before the end of next year, if they make a deposit on that by August 10th, with a minimum package of $2,500, not including airfare, we will include a free gift with your booking, something that you can take with you to Alaska and use up there. You do need to request the special code TOAD TLC to get this promotion, and it is combinable with last week's Celebrity Cruises booking special, so you can still get the $150 bonus onboard credit if you book by August 1st on your Celebrity Cruise. And if it's an Alaska cruise, you can also get the bonus gift. Okay, every time I see that, it gets me misty. And that concludes our presentation on Alaska. I'm going to open it up for questions if anyone has any.
Hey, Tracy, if we were to come into Fairbanks a couple days early, what would you recommend doing?
You haven't been there before, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Then I would definitely recommend the Riverboat Discovery. That's a nice big paddle wheeler that will take you down the Chena River and take you to an Alaskan camp where they have reindeer and natives that will tell you about, everything that they did. They've got some special things that happen on the boat as well, on the shorelines around it. There's also the Gold Dredge number 9, I believe it is, where you can take a little train and go dredging for gold. If you want to get a car and drive a little bit further, there's also the Santa Claus House over in the North Pole. That's only about 20 to 30 minutes away from Fairbanks. Um,
It's not the real North Pole.
That's
Is,
a little far.
is Arctic Circle National Park within driving distance?
no.
Oh,
The Arctic Circle is 125 miles away.
okay.
It's a very desolate road. You can take a tour to get there. It's not recommended that you drive there yourself, because there literally is nothing on the road. If you have any problems, you're out in the middle of nowhere for hours. They do have buses that take you there and back. They also have a fly and bus combination. So you could fly in and then bus back, or the other way around. Or you could do a flight there and back. Obviously, it's more expensive the more flights that you have involved, but it's definitely possible to do. And we do know someone, Tracy Koch did that last time. I think she took the bus both ways, or maybe flew one way. I can't remember now.
Okay. We're going early, Care.
Yeah, so the pre-cruise, you want us there. The pre-cruise tour is going to start on Saturday, the 21st. So you would want us in there on Friday, the 20th.
If you want to have any extra time, yeah. We're not going to leave on the train until the 22nd.
Okay.
So
Okay.
honestly, if you haven't been to Fairbanks, it's kind of nice to see. I don't personally feel a need to go there more than just the overnight.
Okay.
It's, you know, it was nice to see. We spent 3 days there, I think, 2 or 3
Okay.
days there, and that was a little much.
Funny. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't do the Gold Dredge. We did find a local brewery. We did go to the there was a field that we went to. It was a conservation area. We walked through there, got attacked by mosquitoes, went out to the Santa Claus house. There's a diner in North Pole that was featured in Diners, Drive-In, Dives years ago. There. About it. We followed the ice cube trail that Steve left for us. Just in case we needed to get more ice, he left a trail.
Tracy,
Yes.
temperature-wise, compared it to Iceland.
Comparable.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking about clothes and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. It does. What it was telling me there is that there was a lot more, a lot cooler up there than what I've experienced, both
Mhm.
times that I've been there. I was really kind of surprised at the average temperatures because I've never experienced it quite that cool.
But it's good to be prepared.
Yeah. Janice, did you go with us when we went on the very first Disney cruise to Alaska?
No, I had to
Okay.
cancel that one. Yeah, that was right after Ron passed, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't make that one. So yeah, so I'm still trying to get back there.
We actually sat on our balcony as we were sailing out of Juneau I had long pants and a t-shirt on, and I was not cold out there.
Okay.
And that was sailing away, which granted they go pretty slow through
Yeah.
the inside passage, but it was nice enough that
You're
I told
drinking
Bill I
wine.
wanted to move. I said it was summer and that I probably really didn't want to.
I wore a jacket a couple times and it was it. I wore long sleeve shirts, but just a jacket once or twice.
Yeah, and one thing that I didn't expect to be part of or attend a webinar this morning that was on Alaska. It's my weekly webinar with Royal Caribbean, and the topic this week happened to be Alaska just by coincidence. And one thing that they said that really hit home with me is they said that it's hard to articulate the beauty of Alaska. And I have to say that really is true. I can tell people how amazing it is and how gorgeous it is and show pictures of moose and colorful fields, but until you actually go and see it, it's hard to put into words exactly how it feels to visit Alaska. Honestly, the only reason I went to Alaska was because Disney was starting to sell it, and I was a Disney travel agent. And if I didn't know Alaska, I didn't know how I was going to sell it to clients. So I went there solely because I felt I needed to for work. And I absolutely love it. And I do not like winter. I hide out in my house in the winter. So
The other thing is it's like this whole country was almost 200 years ago. I mean, it's just wilderness. There's goats on the mountain, and that's it.
and I've heard from just north of Anchorage, you can see Russia from there.
Hmm.
You were talking to Sarah Palin.
Yeah, when we were on the bus heading up to Denali, they had to tell us that this is the spot where you can see Russia.
Well, he pointed up a street and said that's her house. So as we went by.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Tracy, I have a question.
Mhm.
You've seen Northern Lights?
No.
You have not seen them?
Mm-mm. No, the times that we have been there, it hasn't been good enough to see.
Anybody else see them? I'm nosy about how fast they move.
Seen them up in Alaska or seen them elsewhere?
Seen them anywhere. Do they move very fast or are they slow? Does anybody know?
No idea.
Kind of a shimmering curtain. The curtain will kind of stay in place, but the colors will change a little bit and it'll kind of drift away or change.
But not real fast?
Not real fast.
Okay. That answers that.
Mhm.
Maybe we'll get lucky.
Yeah, I think we're close with those dates. That's why I really wanted to go later. I wanted to see the fall colors, and I wanted to have a chance at seeing the Northern Lights. I would say when we're on the cruise, we would have a better shot than when we're in Denali. I think we're too close to the full moon when we're in Denali. I believe it, I checked it out, and I think the full moon was like the week before we get there. So, or 4 or 5 days before. So it was questionable whether or not it would be too bright. And also the further north we are, the more daylight we're going to have. So I think when we get down to on the cruise, we might have a better shot at it.
Yeah. Full moon is August 22nd.
Yeah. So our third night in Denali is going to be the 25th. So it's a little too close to the full.
Yeah, it's gonna be too
Yeah.
close.
It would have been
Maybe
nice
it's
to do
maybe
it
at the
one-
end of the cruise.
Yeah, it would have been nice to do it 1 week later, but there isn't a sailing 1 week later that goes the direction we wanted it to. So I went as late as I could and get my birthday on it too. So
Oh.
Just missed mine.
not that I had that as a influencer.
Like some people we know.
Yeah, we'll have Dodie's and mine on there.
Yeah.
And then the cruise after that, we'll have Kathy's on.
Yep, that was gonna cost me 3 arms and 4 legs.
But Mark, I'm worth it.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I'm just so confused about what tours to do, like in Juneau and Anchorage, because like we're doing Icy Point Strait, we're gonna do Hubbard Glacier, and of course all of Denali. but then there's the other ports. I don't know whether it was an ad that either popped up on my Facebook or something, was they have Segway tours in Juneau. So that kind of looked interesting. But I just don't know what to do in other places.
Well, what
And
kind of things, what I would say is, what kind of things do you want to experience? Skagway is a great place to do the train. I mean, that's the most popular tour in Skagway, but you can couple that with several other things too. Or you don't have to do the train. I've done it twice now. I'm probably not going to do the train again. But going up to
I was
Fraser was pretty cool, and doing the suspension bridge was really scary. We did some gold panning, and we got trace amounts of gold to take home with us. And just walking around town is pretty cool too. It's a very small town. It's
yeah.
6 by 9 blocks.
That's the only place that offers the horseback riding tour. So I will be light enough by then to ride a horse and hurt it. So,
and then in Juneau, I mean, that's a great place to go whale watching, or to go, if you want to take a plane and land on a glacier, that's a good place to do it. Just going to Mendenhall Glacier and spending time in that park is cheap and an easy thing to do, and lots to see. I mean, I think the walk was a little more than a mile into the waterfall. We all walked to the waterfall. Mark decided to climb halfway up the waterfall.
I think I have a picture of that.
Oh, yeah, I've got pictures.
It was actually fun. Coming back down wasn't so fun.
Yeah,
Get a flight of
the young kids were running past him.
Are we going to continue to receive very many more of these emails from MSC or
Celebrity. That should be the last one because it needed to be paid by yesterday. So it should be done. It's just their way of processing the envelope credits. Not everybody got one. I didn't get one for mine. I don't know why. But several people did. Several people emailed me about it.
mine were all paid for, so I didn't get anything. So,
And that could be what it was. If you didn't use your onboard credit, then you wouldn't have gotten one for sure. Because the onboard credit is basically, they canceled the cruise booking, which said that the shore excursions, you no longer had that $300 onboard credit. So it removed them, or something like that. It was really kind of weird, but we're getting used to it. It's been, 5 months now? We can see how they're all processing things different. So I'm hoping shortly we have those future cruise credits. I know that one person from our sailing has gotten theirs, but nobody else has yet. So
in the next month or so, we should see them and also see some indication of what onboard credit we're going to receive.
yeah, basically what's been happening is the people who opted for the onboard credits, their FCCs are taking a little bit more time because they have more things to process with it to make sure you get the right credit. And so those are taking a little bit longer than the others. But I would say definitely within the month, you should have them.
and then once we get the future cruise credit, and once Roz does what she needs to do with hers, then I can get mine in cash if I decide not to get the credit.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I'll have to go through some people in order to get that done, but it can be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Galapagos, Kim.
Yeah, I wish, Mark. I wish. That's a little bit out of the budget, unfortunately. So.
It's a one-time budget item here.
But it's all inclusive.
And
I know
only
it's
for
inclusive, but
Louise
it's
and Kathy.
still the future cruise credit from this is still a little bit short of for what Galapagos would be.
But you got 2 years to save.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of enablers.
You're not going anywhere right now.
That's for sure.
Tracy knows me. I just keep calling her, emailing her, put another X dollars down on whatever. Because I don't want it to come up all at once. It'll be too big of a surprise.
Yeah, that would be a big surprise.
Yeah, that's
Now,
why I decided to.
I've got another expense that may be coming up, so.
That's why I decided to make some payments to the Tahiti trip, because I hadn't, and like, yeah, I don't need that big surprise at the end of November.
Well, that's a good idea. I'm waiting to get refunded from my Ireland trip that got canceled, so maybe that I can use that to pay for some of, that's a really good idea.
All right, I got that one covered.